Hi.
It still says it's preparing to set up, so just give me a sec.
Okay, it says meeting is now streaming live on YouTube for me.
Okay, so for me, it looks like we're good. Anyways, hi everyone, and welcome to Imagine Landscapes. It still says it's preparing to set up, so just give me a sec.
Okay, it says meeting is now streaming live.
There we go. Only two of us should be talking at any one point in time. I was not expecting it to start talking on that window. I had another window set up. So, skills. Welcome everyone, the second time with professional pre-muted welcoming. I'm Sarah, also known as Imagine Landscapes.
And I'm Katie, also known as Roar114. Welcome to our once a month show and tell to supplement our every other week audio podcast, where we talk about knitting, tea, and nerdery. Here, we're just going to mostly show you the things that we've been working on and drink tea. Well, I'm drinking tea. You are drinking?
I'm drinking water because I just went for a 2-hour walk to the greenhouse and back across town with my husband and son. It was hard to go walking because that meant you can't buy any bedding plants or shrubs or anything else that strikes your fantasy, but it did keep us on task and back in time as well. But yeah, so I'm just doing water because I'm overheated.
Yes, that's fair.
What kind of tea are you drinking?
This is s'mores chai, David's tea. I have yet to have a sip though, because I just boiled it and I have plunked in an ice cube, but just quite there yet. I can tell when I get it close to my face that it's still too hot.
Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna reorganize my window because I can't see the live chat.
We've got some folks popping in from down D. I'm not sure what that is, Amy. We've got there we go, down south of Minnesota, and then Germany. Hello, thank you for chiming in and letting us know that you're here, folks.
Yeah, and that you can hear us, because you'd say something if you couldn't, so that's awesome. Yep. Wonderful to have you. If you have questions about anything we're showing or that we forgot to show, let us know. We do keep looking back and forth at chat, and we try to keep things flowing between us two and you. So welcome everyone.
I just realized that it's been a while since we probably actually located ourselves. So I'm
me.
Sorry?
Found me.
Oh, I did. You're right here in my heart.
Yeah.
And also we're both in southern Manitoba, which is in Canada, in the middle.
In the middle. It's funny, I was just in BC with Reiner, dropping our daughter off at her new living situation for a semester. She's going to finish her master's degree by doing a practical work term. And we were driving home and I was like, it's really hard for me to mentally wrap my mind around any time when driving east is driving home.
Yes.
But Manitoba is not west in Canada. It is the center of North America. And yet in terms of how Canada thinks of itself, in terms of how the provinces are broken up, in terms of how you experience at the beginning of the prairie, Manitoba is in the west, but it's not west.
Yeah, it's true.
So, and there's a lot of Canada to go east in to get to Manitoba. So it was very weird as we were driving home. And I just said, it's really hard for me conceptually to go east and think of my home is east.
And I think also for us, like we grew up going east to visit grandparents and then going west for home. And so east has always been the place to go see family, not the place to locate ourselves.
Yeah, it's a funny little trick. And especially we used to be more west. We weren't Manitoba most of the time we were growing up. We were Saskatchewan, which is a little more west. But one more thing I want to just say, Looney Hiker, congratulations on getting that riding lawnmower. I don't remember where, I think it was Instagram, but I think it was like a 40th anniversary. No, it's 30th anniversary. She and her husband got a riding lawnmower as their anniversary present to each other.
Sometimes those are the right things to do. Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of people from Germany here today. That's awesome.
Also herzlich willkommen und wir freuen uns auf euch alle. Es freut uns, dass ihr auch dabei seid. But now we will switch back to English.
I was saying, I just recognized some of those words. Probably most of them.
I'm even knitting on some German yarn today, so. Although I always think that company's got to be Italian. We'll talk about that when we get to it. Let's launch right into works in progress. No, finished object. And you'll start because clearly I need to like breathe.
Okay, so this is in true Katie fashion. I finished knitting it and promptly abandoned it. I haven't woven in the ends, I haven't blocked it. And this is also the shawl that I cast on to have something to work on. Wasn't necessarily drawn to it for myself or had a giftee in mind. But this is the Pagona shawl by Stephen West. So now you'll be able to see why we've been talking about it as well. If I blocked it, it'd be better. But it is a bat wing. So here you can see a triangular shape that ends in, when I block it, a tip. And then over here, there's reverse stockinette, and then another tip section there. And then repeated once more before the end. And that's repeated on the other side. So I should block this out. This would look quite lovely. Sarah, you were never quite sure about this yarn combo. This is from Leo and Roxy's sock club that I joined a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so this bottom color has, nope, the middle color has some stellina, which isn't really showing. But yeah, I agree, Imriel. The color combo is just so interesting. Like it's not, I think they work really quite well together. Sarah, remember you thinking you weren't convinced?
I'm still not convinced.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I don't have to wear it, so that's fine. I love the two green blues, like those, whatever those two are, I really love them. And I think I would like them with a solid version of one of the shades of purple, but the fact that it's purple with those and variegated, really my brain has a hard time like putting them as a family in any way.
That's fair. Yeah. I've been calling this color, the middle color for sure to me is a sage. And then the bottom one is kind of like a darker sage. It's not quite evergreen
Yeah. There's something kind of dusty about it that doesn't let it go quite into a lot of the colors you would normally call a green.
And I think that's why I think of them as sage, because to me, when I think of the color sage, I think of the plant, which has a kind of a dusty
silvery hue.
Yeah. So yeah, so this is my FO.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
That's great because you've been talking about the same 3 works in progress for approximately since the Jurassic period, it feels like. So to have one finished,
well, this one I finished a while ago, so I have the same 3 works in progress that I've had for the last month, mostly.
And I'm blurring.
You are. Because I have been talking a lot about all this in progress, but I do have a surprise new project.
Excellent. I have something to talk about that will surprise you, I think. Although no, we talked about it when I texted on the drive. Anyways, I have 2 things to show as works in progress, but only one of which is actually mine. I wanted to take a chance to show Sandra's crazy socks that we talked about on the audio podcast. Now, Reiner has been wearing these. So these are not, and these are not even freshly washed. I like pulled them out of the laundry when he threw them in after the trip, and he loves wearing them. And so Sandra had a lot of sock yarn. She was alone in Germany, well, not alone, but like living on her own, doing things, and she was knitting socks and giving them to the family and her friends. And so she had a lot of self-striping, and she just didn't want to get rid of the yarn, didn't know what to do. So she was like, is this too much for Papa? And I was like, dude is all about too much when it comes to socks.
Looks so like Reiner.
And it's funny because as she did like the first little bit, I was like, oh no, it's not working. So like, if you can imagine, like, I think the first bit I saw was like this.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, this is not working yet, but it needed more. In particular, it needed like 2. So these are the crazy socks, and they are just a lot. And she did the same number of rows in each yarn, but some were thin stripes, some were thick stripes, and some were variegated. And so it really is just a big mix.
How did she join them together?
Well, she left ends and then sewed them in and cut them. But she cut some before she sewed them in, thinking they were sewed in. And in fact, as I pulled this out to put it on, I'm glad I grabbed it before the wash, because you can see I forgot one right there. So I'll have to do some more surgery on this. So yeah, there were a lot of things for her. I've sent her a link to the thing I have about how to weave in ends or to knit your ends in as you're knitting in the round, which is a tutorial I have. And then she doesn't have to worry about this anymore. But she did not do that. And I think I saw on somewhere else here what looks like maybe a yarn overhole. And so I need to also go right there and check on that. So I will
do something a few over as well. There.
Yeah, that's where I was doing the surgery. So I think it's just it's like a blippy bit coming through. But yeah, I do need to check on a lot of stuff here. Right there. And then there. So
those are so fun and so very perfectly Reiner.
He's worn them like since he got them, probably 20% of the time.
Yeah.
We always wear our wool socks at least twice. Wool is something that is odor killing, and you can wear it a lot more than modern people think you do. I mean, sweaters don't need washing all the time, especially if you're wearing a shirt underneath that is catching your skin oils and your sweat and whatever, like things don't need washing all the time. And so we find the washing process is actually harder on them than the wearing. So I feel like if I'm not washing them as often, they're lasting longer and the colors aren't running and they stay vibrant. So yeah, he wears them a lot and they make him so happy. And especially now that it's shorts weather, so he can really show off these socks. That's a lot of fun.
Jen has a really good question that I would love to see too. Tutorial for how to fix random yarn overholes.
I fake it a lot. I basically duplicate stitch, and I can I might be able to do a tutorial about that. But yeah, I basically just like kind of weave in like I'm duplicate stitching, weave that shut, and then just weave in, and then it's sort of like you've done both ends, and then you've just hooked the middle, and that's all I do is basically like a duplicate stitch. And because these are crazy socks, it doesn't matter what yarns I use. So when I fixed the section I fixed over here, I had a mustard yarn. So I just threw it in there on the theory that it couldn't get, it couldn't mess it up to add more color to this. But that's how I do it. I could probably film a tutorial, but that is a good idea. Yeah. Just checking the comments. So you said you had another FO, is that right?
Nope.
No. Oh, we should have started with me talking then. What are we doing? Aren't we professional podcasters?
No.
All right, I haven't worn these yet.
I don't know about you, but I don't get paid for this.
Yeah, I don't either. None of the stuff on YouTube is monetized. I think it lowers the number of ads people see. Right? Sorry? It lowers the number of ads people see if an account is not monetized. I think you still see some, but maybe you still see the exact same number and I just get paid nothing and YouTube keeps all the money. Money.
I have a question with regard to a men's sweater. Thoughts on mailing me one? I think we have a troll in the comments.
I think we have a son in the comments. I do like men's sweaters and I am looking to get more sweaters. The problem, my dear son, my indignant puffin, is that sweaters require a lot of time, and my plan is to start doing sweaters starting August. I just have a plan to do a lot of sweaters for myself. Well,
as you
awkward.
Should.
Yeah.
As you should.
But we will talk, indignant puffin. We will talk. If you pick one that isn't all cables or color work, it gets a lot easier because then it's something I can knit. Like when I would be knitting a sock, I would knit a sweater instead. All right, so I haven't worn these yet. I finished them right before we were going to leave and I was like, I'll just wait. These are the work socks for myself. So I've been I'm trying to figure out how to get the color right, because it's kind of a teal leaning dark green. And I've got artificial lighting here. It's very warm. And so I'm trying to get like the sunlight from the window.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is not a good color swatch, but it does show you what I did. So I've been working on work sock style socks for the family. These were the last ones because there's 4 of us and these are the 4th. I've been using Knit Pick Stroll Tweed for all of them. This one is Sequoia Heather. Again, I'm going to try to, no, it's not going to come up too much. This is the closest I can get, and that's not very great, but it is an incredible dark evergreen with a little bit of a teal push. Like it does, it has, it just has that evergreen where it does have that blue shift to it. And so that's the sequoia heather. And this is the oyster heather, which is a very warm heather compared to like is it Dalmatian heather is a pure white, and I think there's dove heather, which is a little bit gray. But this is definitely like a parchment paper kind of a
it's really
color.
great.
And so I went with 3 stripes for myself. I think these are 4. So I went 6 rows of ribbing, 4, then 2, and then I did 4 more rows of ribbing on the bottom in the sequoia, just to kind of balance top and bottom.
Yeah.
And yeah, I haven't worn them yet, and who knows when I will wear them, because right now it's like full on let's go gardening. I'm wearing a sleeveless top for the first time this year. I mean, I feel like I'll never wear a sweater again.
I went to work on Friday with sandals, no socks, and in a sleeveless shirt without a sweater on. I had a sweater with me because work, air conditioning, but like I just left the house. It was amazing, and I was wearing a skirt too, so bare legs, and I was just perfectly comfortable. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I have the windows open. I've got the furnace off.
That feeling when you can just leave the house without layering up
for 10 minutes.
It's such a like, oh, you could just, and I mean, because you're in an apartment, it's like a little different, right? But I can literally step out the door by slipping on shoes, or even not, right? I could just be out there with no intervening steps. And that's like every spring, just that sense of, I don't want to call it freedom because that doesn't seem quite right, but like the ease, the speed.
I am awakening in a way, right? Like I feel like I've been hibernating in winter, and now I want to see more people. I want to be out doing more, and yeah, definitely just like loving all of that.
So let's talk works in progress. We're going to do a works in progress, and then we're actually going to do a swatching section because we both swatched, and I think that's kind of fun. That's like almost works in progress. But we're just gonna give it its own section this time. So what are you working on, Katie?
I will start with, so this is what I store my Dragon's Breath poncho in. This is 3 skeins of yarn, which is why when we've talked, I said that I'm always surprised at how deep it is.
Yeah,
because it's the whole thing
is nothing but poncho.
Yeah. I have this much yarn left.
Ooh. And are you trying to use it all, or are you like?
Yeah, I am. And so let me just get the needles out because I have to cram this thing in. The needles go all in there.
I just realized I forgot a project. So I'm just gonna run away. I'll mute myself so you don't hear that.
You don't want to see the color reveal?
I really do. Okay.
You do. I know you do.
I did see it in person.
This is.
Look at that.
It. Oh,
do a drape. Do a round the body drape.
Ooh, I'm so excited. So my thinking is that I will basically just seam it
as a tube rather than like short side to long side.
No. I'm going to seam it along here.
Oh, that's really different than I thought you would do.
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit longer on the one side, but when I block it, I'm going to block it for maximum depth this way.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is actually really nice and deep here.
Yeah.
Considering I am almost 6 feet tall.
Yeah. All right, keep talking. Explain what you did. Explain the edging, all that. I will be back.
Okay. So this is Knit Picks Dragon's Breath scroll gradients. I don't know if they actually still do any of their gradients. I haven't been to their website in a while, but they decided to not offer this one anymore. And so I panic ordered 3 skeins without a plan. and decided that after I made my Imagine Knitting Cal poncho that I love ponchos. And it's just time to embrace that I love, yes, sunset colors, right? Time to embrace how much I love ponchos. And so I just cast on a somewhat random number of stitches. And I have a really short, I probably should have done longer, 2x2 rib edge. And then I have, let's see if I can get this to focus. Nope. It's called a hatch stitch. So knit one, slip one, knit one, yarn over, and then slip stitch over the two. So you get just a little bit of an offset V. So I've got two of those at the edge. And then the rest is just stockinette. And it's beautiful.
It is.
And so at some point I'll be done.
Well, it looks like you're pretty close. Is that
It
really?
It's so big that I don't often, like, my two main projects right now are both lap fillers. And I don't always want to pull out a lap filler, you know? And so I've been pulling this one out less and less. But I should, because this would be perfect for like going to a movie in the summer, right?
Yeah, it's a perfect evening layering piece.
Yeah. So, I just know. Just got an email from a cousin about a house concert the first weekend in June. And maybe I need to finish this in time for that.
You do.
So it's also Pride weekend, and I just feel like showing up at a house. Yeah. Anyway, that's this one. Thank you, everybody. I do really love it. And every time I pull it out, I'm in love with those colors again. I mean, even just look here, right? Like clearly I have a thing for fiery things. So
one thing I do in summer when I'm working on a project and it's hotter than I'd like is it's not maybe as cozy, but if I sit at the table and I put the project on the table, and then even if I'm like working so that I'm not like elbows on the table, like just having it not in my lap. Or the other day I was at Canadian Tire and I bought a breakfast in bed tray.
I have a breakfast in bed tray that I use on the couch sometimes, actually.
So you could put the project on that.
Yeah,
right.
That's a good idea.
So that it's not like a blanket.
Not necessarily right now that it's too warm. It's just, I mean, the bag that I've got it in isn't necessarily the best bag either, but it's just, there's just so much project that to move around that it's just, it's just a slight impediment.
Get over yourself. You deserve to wear that.
There we go. Thanks. All right. Show a thing.
So, okay, we all know that I'm trying to not keep increasing the size of my yarn stash. This is important to me. It's not working at the moment. I usually have a bigger, like early winter, and then kind of work things down because of my Toronto trip, and I go to all the yarn stores and I buy lots of yarn. This time it was that the yarn I love to use as a fluffy yarn to hold instead of mohair silk or alpaca, both of which I am allergic to. I was excited to find it. It's called Cashmere Garzato, and it went out of production. And then I mentioned this on the podcast, and some amazing person found me a store that had several colors in stock still. So Reiner, when he came back from Germany with Sandra, brought me 3 colors. Well, all 3 here. Hang on. So I've got black, kind of an olive green, and yellow, not all in the same amounts, because I literally bought, if there were 5 or more skeins, I bought everything they had. So I think I've got 5, 6, and 9.
It's so like, I get that, but when I look at that olive and I look at that orangey yellow, those colors do not scream Sarah to me.
Oh, but think about holding this with a green, and then it's just like, or brown, because I do all these earth tones, right? Now this yellow, not so much, but like
that yellow is dangerous for you and I.
Right? But like this with something else, Sandra loves wearing gold.
Yes. Yeah.
So this blew things right out of the water. And then we don't usually just talk about stash, but the reason I'm talking about this is it's kind of funny because I'm like, okay, I don't even regret that. I mean, I don't love looking at the numbers divorced from that yarn, but if that takes me 20 years to knit up, I don't really care because it's special, it's unusual. And I know there will be other yarns I could substitute down the road. There are some acrylics and other things, but this is a yarn I've used and I know, and I don't regret it. I just don't love the numbers. But to make matters worse, I was like, okay, I've got this pair of socks on the go, but I need a second one so that I can always stage them. So there's something at a really easy part. So I grabbed some yarn. And Sandra was like, Mom, how about you knit with this? I looked at these colors and I thought you'd really enjoy them. And I looked at them and I thought, oh, one of the guys in my life is really going to enjoy them. So I'm knitting yarn from Sandra. So it's not actually helping my stash at all in that sense. But this is a lana grossa.
Oh, that's entirely for one of the guys in your household.
Yeah, so it's a really neat one. It's really subtle, but here in the lilac-y bits and here in the dark purple, it's a little speckled. So it's like thick stripes with speckles. And I just really love working on it. Lana grossa is one of my favorite, like I don't often grab their sock yarn, but it is one of my favorite yarns from Germany to buy. It's a workhorse yarn that is softer than Regia and especially Opal. Like it is it is a little more rugged. It's a really good sock yarn. Like a lot of fingering weight yarns are great, but they're definitely not going to handle like the way we wear socks in our house. We are all in on wearing them down. So this is just, I like working with the narrow stripes on this. I think it, look at that. It speckles in this too. Yeah. Oh, I'm in a speckle right now. So yeah, it's a neat little mix of like, look at how skinny this stripe is right here. It's like one round of this purpley bit here. Yeah. So like it's different widths. Some of them are speckling, some of them aren't. So Lana Grossa is a company that for whatever reason, I always think is Italian. And maybe, but it's not. It's actually kind of a weird company in Germany. It is very aggressive in how it licenses its use in stores. Like if you carry it, it's like you can't carry anything else. It's like almost like there's like, if you do us, you don't do these people. And so if you, it's possible to walk into a yarn store in Germany and find nothing but this brand.
I've noticed that, and I've wondered what the heck that was about.
Yeah, so it's a really common yarn and I like it. Some of my favorite sweaters have been from Lana Grossa. They've got really interesting pattern books, so it's like I kind of like have this like love-hate thing. It is some of the best quality commercial yarn I've ever got. There was this merino Cool Wool 2000 or Cool Wool. It has stitch definition like unbelievable, and I knit it into a sweater. And it didn't pill once, like not one pill for the soft merino. It was amazing. So like, it's not indie at all, but for commercial yarn, it's so good. So yeah, these are really fun. And I'm knitting them on 9-inch circulars, which, who was it that told me that they think of it as teacup knitting, but I've started using that because it's like, you know, like, oh yes, very lovely.
It's dainty. You have dainty fingers when you're working on it.
Yeah, and I've had to relearn how I knit with that because I'm very much a DPM bracer. I brace against my palm and all this stuff, and so I did cramp in the transition, and so I tried from a friend and it was like, this doesn't work, and she kept kind of trying to persuade me, but I only saw her I think once a year because she lives in the States, and we were just meeting at knitting conferences, and she said, okay, and for whatever reason, enough people had said something that I was like, oh, I'm just going to buy this needle, and if I don't like it, I'm going to send it to her. But I'm going to do 5 minutes a day rather than trying to just cast on and knit a sock the way I normally would. And I think that really helped to just give my body a chance, because you do use your muscles so differently to do this dainty little, especially since I hold my yarn like this, right? I only have 2 fingers on my left hand to be holding this, and it just changes things a lot. Everything's much more free, and like there's nothing anchored against my palms in any way. Like it's just dangling.
I've actually snapped off cables from interchangeable cable needles because of where the butt of the needle rests on my palm.
Yeah, interchangeable needles, or I find I really bend the cord, like it develops a real thing.
Barb's wondering if you can get Lana Grossa in Canada.
I don't know about Canada. I have seen stores offering it in the US. I don't have the ball band with me right now to know the color, and I haven't created the project page for this yet, but I will create a project page and I'll put in the color number and stuff like that. On Ravelry, if you look for a yarn, you will often be given places that sell that yarn. So it's something to look for. It's also, honestly, often just as cheap to order from overseas and ship, at least to Canada, than it is to order within Canada and ship. So yeah, it's something to just look out for and see what you can find.
Yeah.
Yeah. What
Yeah. So we hit more drama with my painting rainbow shawl, folks. Not major drama, but it's drama, and I'm sad. So it's so beautiful. I just want to be done. I just dropped a ball of yarn. Let me get it while I'm thinking of it. So I'm gonna do a quick count before I hold this up. Where am I? No, that's too long. I'm just gonna show you. So this is Painting Rainbows by Stephen West in Neighborhood Fiber Company's Pride yarn from a couple of years ago, plus Uptown, I think, is the main color in there. And it's got this beautiful, gorgeous perpendicular cast edge on the bottom. And if you'll remember, at one point in the middle of the audio podcast, I was talking about doing this edge, and I was using the term garter stitch, and you said something about garter, and I was like, yeah, it's, and I when I was editing, I heard myself slow down and realize with horror as I was speaking that it's supposed to be reverse stockinette. And this wasn't just a case of me using the wrong word, as often happens. So I had to frog back half of the stuff that I'd done, and I'd already cut all of the yarn. So we've got all of these little bits back here because my tension was different, or how much I used in my weaving in the ends while knitting thing was different. And so we've got all of this. Look at all of this purple. I am so sad about all of this excess purple here, because purple is the one that I'm most worried about running out of. And then I picked it up the other day and I was knitting and I was really happy because look at how little I have left now to do out of all of this. Yes, Judy, this is mammoth. And I realized that, oh, I got the wrong side. Back here, I only did one row. So I have to frog back just over a full repeat because it's from yellow to yellow plus one. So I have to frog back and redo that again.
It'll be worth it, and it's not that hard.
No, like, it will be worth it. And I caught it soon enough. But I realized that, what was it, Friday? And just haven't worked on it since. But yes, this is mammoth. It's also my
size it's written to be.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't measured it, but I have knit it as written. I haven't shortened it or lengthened it. It's also my first semicircular shawl, and I think for this one I'm going to definitely need to find where I have a leather snap clip from
a shawl bracelet kind of a thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to find one of those and use that. But yeah, so that is on the way. Oh, Barb and Judy, I will notice it and it will irk me every time. It'll be that same sort of thing, like, you know, when someone compliments your dress and you're like, thanks, it has pockets. Every time someone will compliment me on that, I'll be like, thanks, look at the spot where I screwed up. At least in my head,
you can't roll with it, you just can't, right? Like
exactly, yeah. So I thought about it, like, and that's why, like, when I realized it, I took a picture, I sent it to Sarah in dismay, and then literally put it away. And I've been knitting something else since then. But even just pulling it out then, I was like, yeah, no, I will always think of that spot. So thank you for the encouragement, but it will be great once it's done. I'm very excited about having it done.
Yes.
Just one more hiccup, hopefully the last one.
So the sandwich in my colorful,
Oh, yeah.
the colorful works in progress I'm going to talk about is the black sock, which makes for
Heel.
I'm at the heel. So when we did our audio podcast, I was right here. I can't even really show you. So
Yeah.
here's the ribbing. Let's see, here's the ribbing line here.
Yeah,
And I was
it.
like 2 or 3 rows beyond. And when we got home from BC, I was like, okay, I got to get things ready. I didn't take this with me. And I thought, I can't handle the idea of talking about this sock and still having it be, because I think the first time we talked about it on the podcast, I was like, I have 3 rounds of ribbing. And then it was like, I have the ribbing plus 2 rounds. And then I was like, I can't. So this is all just last night and this morning, just a little bit, because I was just doing something else at the same time. Right. And yeah, when you knit on things, they really do make progress.
Yeah, you're also a very fast knitter.
I don't think I'm that fast compared to most people. I just am not like this in particular. I was not letting myself get distracted by my phone or browsing on the internet where I'm like, I think I'm knitting. I just spent an hour knitting and I got like 20 stitches done. No, you spent an hour online and you were lucky to get 20 stitches done.
Yeah.
But like I said, I was motivated to have something done for now, which is great. I love that little bit of like, oh no, I got to get somewhere on this. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that is good.
So it is also Knit Picks. Their stroll. This is so old that I'm not sure the base is even like this anymore because I've only been using stroll tweed or stroll like or their Felici, which is a different base. And so I'm not sure. I think I bought this originally to be in my blanket, which we're going to talk about next. Because I went looking and it wasn't even listed in my stash. And I think I did that with yarns when I bought the black and just threw it in the This Is My Blanket yarn. And at some point when I stopped working on the blanket for a few years, I must have taken it out of my stash or out of my blanket box and put it in my stash without actually putting it in my Ravelry stash. And it was just in the box. So yeah, it's fairly old, but I really do like we obviously like Knit Picks. I think it's one of the better budget friendly options in North America.
Yeah, good quality.
Although I will say their swish stuff does pill and is on the thinner side of every yarn weight that it is. Like, is their stroll worsted really worsted, or is it more of like a DK? Like there are like that is the one place, but a lot of their sock yarns I think are fantastic. And there are a few of their other yarns, but I think their swish is one place where I'm like, I've knit some sweaters in it and they look like the one cardigan that I wore a lot. Admittedly a lot. I was pulling it on like every morning for breakfast, and then I wouldn't necessarily wear it all day, but I was wearing it fairly frequently, plus like almost every morning. It looks ratty and it is not that old. I also haven't depilled it, but it definitely is. I don't wear it out in public.
Yeah.
So just a note of caution that I don't adore every one of their yarn, even though I will use swish again. Like I have sweater quantities of it and I will 100% knit it again, but yeah. I just want to offer that.
No, that's true. That's true. I am still working technically on the Goth Litmus cowl. I just forgot to grab it. And haven't really touched it too much lately. Again, it's in, it's at a big stage. And so it's yeah. I just slowed down on it. To have 3 projects all kind of at a big lap filling stage at once is a bit much. So I have also started teacup knitting. So I was, there's an event here in town, Once More with Feeling or something like that. It's a sing-along event with the musical episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and the Dr. Horrible sing-along blog. This woman has been planning this and running this for 7 seasons now. There's a costume competition. She's turned it into this really great initiative where she gets silent auction prizes and then donates money to local charities. And so this year, over $2,000 was given to a local Indigenous organization. And it's such a really fun event. And so it was coming up, and I realized that none of my projects would work for that at all. And so I wound up some of the Star Trek sock club yarn from Fiberwood Fiber Company. This is A Time to Stand yarn. And even though I've got a bunch on the go, I honestly couldn't tell you where they are or how much I care about them, but I decided to cast on another sock. So some lovely purples, little almost pink in there, but not quite. I mean, that's also space-like.
It's very nebula.
Sorry?
Very nebula.
Yes. And then it comes with 2 minis, and I think I'm only going to use one. So there's one that's really a lovely lavender, and then another that's a bit of a gray. And I think I'm going to use the gray just to kind of solidify it a little bit more.
Also, I don't know about you, but the idea of doing like pale bits, I'm like, it's just gonna look dirty. I know I did.
That's what I was thinking when you were showing off your work sock.
Yeah, but it's tweed, so it's gonna hide all the cat hair.
Yeah. Yes. There's cat hair on my office keyboard. Clearly it's just coming in on my clothes. But yeah, so I am actually over 6 inches in. For me, from the tip of this finger to the base of here is 7 inches. So sometime soon I'm going to start the heel. I don't know where my DPNs are. What's the size on this one? Look at me not having to take my glasses off to read small print. Yay, progressives. This is 2.25 millimeters. Clearly still needing more tea. Yeah, so this is the thing that I'm working on.
That's fun. I really like that yarn.
Yeah, well, and it's in a bag that was gifted to me by my family for a belated birthday present.
Which is funny. I've had it since September. So it's the fact that it ended up being belated because we didn't see each other for so long is it's just wild. Like the preparation and then the delay.
Yeah. Now you were showing how you hold it. So I hold it like this. And for this yarn lately, actually, I've just been doing a double wrap around my pinky. And then I find that I'm not really using my pinky. It's just kind of there a bit as stability. Mm-hmm. And this one could be up as well. It's not really doing much there either.
I should say, like, when I hold it, so I've got these 2 here, but it actually goes under my pinky on this side.
Yeah, there are definitely times where I'm holding it like that as well.
Yeah. And like these 2 kind of pinch together right here, so that when I'm letting go and sort of shifting things around, I've got some kind of a pinch rather than just here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I really do like the portability of.
Yeah. And it's great to just be able to you can drop it in your lap and nothing wrong happens. Like it's still okay. And yeah. I mean, we both do the
perfect for gaming, right?
Yes. We both do the heel on DPNs rather than on the 9-inch because I hate the process.
I actually don't know where my DPNs of this size are. They might actually be in whatever abandoned sock.
Yeah, because you've got.
I have 2
Star Trek one.
Yeah, I think of it's one. I have 2 different. I have 2 each of 2.25 and 2.5 of the 9-inch circs, and then I have 2 sets of DPNs at 2.5, and then I think only 1 set of metal DPNs at 2.25, and so they're probably in that other sock.
Yeah.
So I'll have to dig those up soon. Now you will do, I think you do most of the gusset and some of the foot even on.
A bit of the gusset. I do at least, I like to do at least 3 decreases on the DPNs if given a choice, just because I almost feel like
it's too bunchy.
Getting the 9-inch circulars to do the decreases when there's that many stitches on the DPNs or the 9-inch it just it fights me a little bit. Whereas once I've taken a few stitches out, it seems to just go around. Getting that decrease in works better for me. So I do like to do at least a little bit of a gusset. And if I don't pay attention, I will often find I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not knitting these socks on DPNs. I should switch back. Like I just
I get DPNs as soon as I possibly can. I'll do the same though, because I agree. It feels like I'm really fighting it. It's almost like the yarn becomes a cotton or a linen or something that doesn't have any bounce for doing those decreases. Like I feel like I have to fight it so much more to make it happen when there are, all the stitches on there.
Yeah. Yeah, much like the first few rounds after, if you're doing a bottom up sweater, the first few rounds right at that like point when there's all those stitches, it's just gross. You're still not gonna work. It's just the way the fabric doesn't want to be where you're putting it, and it's fighting you, it's resisting. And I think that's what's happening when there's too many stitches on a circular needle. It just doesn't, like the cord can't flex the way it would normally, and there's just there's a sense of resistance to what you want to be doing with it.
Looney Hiker has commented that they do their socks on Magic Loop, and for a while when I switched from, like, I was using DPNs for some things and then I started doing Magic Loop, I was having it was great. With DPNs, I was getting laddering. With Magic Loop, I wasn't. Now, over time, with whatever's all happened, I get more ladders with Magic Loop than I used to. And I love how it's just so portable. And as you said, like, and I know you can with Magic Loop too, you can just kind of drop it. But I find with Magic Loop, particularly because once I put in the stitch markers to do the heel flap, I leave them in until I'm done the sock.
Oh, really? No, I get rid of them.
They stay for the whole foot because I don't want to worry about misaligning things. And I have such tight, like I use jump rings from jewelry.
Yeah, I do too. It's bad for my brain to be like, sometimes you ignore the stitch markers. Then when I go to do the toe, I'm like, my brain's like, oh, we're just going to ignore those because it's what we've been doing for 7 inches or whatever. Like, it's not good for my brain to be like, pay no attention.
Yeah. See, there are some things where I get that, but it doesn't seem to be too much of a problem for me with socks. But for me, it's the stitch markers and Magic Loop. Just the amount of times that they just go flying. If I happen to have the stitch marker, if I happen to have the loop kind of at that point where the stitch markers are, the number of times where the stitch markers just get dropped, or there's something finicky in there that doesn't always work well for me. Plus I ladder more, so I'm constantly kind of shifting a little bit where that extra cable goes out. Yeah.
I just don't like spending the time moving the cable around. That's I can Magic Loop. I often do on hats or sweater sleeves. Yeah, I do it, but I don't love it. It just the time on the cable is not what I want to be doing my knitting. And even like with DPNs, just like that, drop and switch. I thought, oh, like people were like, oh, the 9-inch circulars are so much faster. And I was like, oh, come on. I'm like really fast. I'm really smooth. I don't drop the yarn on my finger. I just like, I'm like, I'm a DPN ninja. And then I picked up the DPNs and I can't believe I'm an inch farther than I would have thought I would be. Like, it just, to remove those extra little things that aren't knitting, it really adds up, I find.
Yeah.
All right. So this,
I'm out of whips. What do you got next?
I want to show my rainbow windows blanket where I'm knitting leftovers / minis into a mitered square blanket. So let me pull this out. It had been hibernating for about 3 years. Officially, and more than that before then.
So lovely, so big.
So big. It is a good 1-person blanket, right? Even if you're on the couch. It is, if I put it on the floor, it's roughly bust height. So like be a very good in a chair lap blanket style. I think I want it bigger. I don't think I want it like much wider. So
so it's just going to stay as a 1-person blanket.
no, that can't be right. Because this I definitely didn't do during then, but I added at least some of these in this first row and then the whole row above. And then I decided that I was going to add. And so I am on, let me think here. I've added almost 2 full columns since I restarted. And yeah, it's just really fun. I love how, you know, you get the stitches picked up. I do the couple, it's 3 garter ridges of the black, and then I get to choose a new color. I've got all sorts of like bags of leftovers. Unfortunately, I did not always keep track to make sure that they were superwash, and I know for sure some of these aren't. So this is not going to be a blanket I give away to anybody because I don't even think I was thinking, yeah, but Sandra's really careful and she also knits. And I was like, yeah, but who wants the gift of a blanket you have to hand wash? That's not really a gift. That's like a curse.
Yeah.
And the way that I do these, I have this technique where I did this before I started knitting over my ends, as it were. But I would hold them double for in a couple places. And so I only ever have one end to actually weave in at the end, and it's the end right from the tip.
Right at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could technically, but I like holding that double with black would not look good. And if I were to switch now to doing the knitting over my ends, I could, but I figure I might as well just be consistent through the rest of the blanket. And I try not to use the same colors too often or too near each other. But I went through, like, was it last year where I gave away almost every leftover I had in this size of yarn. I had some in this blanket box. And I've obviously knit more socks since then, but I mostly knit striped socks. And there's like one square in here somewhere that has striped yarn and I don't love it. I mean, it's fine. And I even remember, I think I did it on purpose for one of the Harry Potter classes. There's this one here is a self-striping. This I actually did on purpose for a Harry Potter class. But I don't love it. And so I stopped doing that. So yeah, I have to be careful now that I have so few leftovers that I'm not using them close to each other. So that was actually, I think, part of why I went and started doing a column, because like if I'm working up here, this is way different, right? That's not the same at all. So I'm not done, but I'm not far. I can do a square in like an hour. They're really quick. They're, I think, 4.5 grams of yarn each one. So they're just little blips of fun, and they're very rewarding because it's like you get the pickup done, and it's a little bit of a hassle because it's, you know, you're getting counting to make sure you have the right number of stitches and the whole thing. And then you're like, but then I do 3 things and then I get to pick a color. So you get through the 3 and then you pick a color. You're like, yeah, but I want to see the color. And then it's like, but oh, like the rows are going really fast by now. I might as well just finish. And so it's just really rewarding between the variable difficulty curve to the payoff curve it's just different enough often enough. And as you can see, I incorporated some that are large squares, and I also did both horizontal and vertical rectangles, which I love. I don't tell Katie, it's really hard for me to see.
I see one.
Okay.
There's a green one kind of left of center.
And then below that, there's a burgundy.
Yep.
Yeah. And I love doing that, but because I did them so rarely in the beginning, I have to like not get tempted to just do nothing but those.
Yeah. When do you think you might have the pattern for that?
Oh yeah, like technically, it's actually been written up for years. But I was going to film all sorts of tutorials was the plan.
Yeah.
I would love actually to have it sometime this fall. I think that's a reasonable goal given other things that are commitments I have. So also I got to figure out how do I test knit this, because obviously I can't assign people a full blanket. So would there be people who'd be willing to knit like little coaster like tests for me. Because there's also like an edging part that, like, the way the squares are done, two sides are finished as you knit them, and this is not actually part of the orange square, it's actually part of the green square. So at the end of the blanket, two of the sides will not have black, and so I've written the edging for a mitered corner on that, but I haven't tested it yet. I mean, I did a little coaster, like I said, so I got to think through how I would test it, especially with the larger squares and the rectangle bits.
Yep.
But I love this, and I am really surprised at how much I like fingering weight blanket, because a lot of the ones that our grandmothers and our mums and whatever have knit for us have been they're usually worsted weight acrylic. But fingering weight wool in garter, it's like the perfect drape plus lightweight weight, like it on me as I'm knitting. I love how it feels and how it curves around my curves and all of this. And it's just really, it's a great project, and I'm really glad I decided to pull it out again. It was basically, I needed the cupboard space, and I was like, I either need to put this in the basement or I need to decide I'm working on this again.
You have some volunteers to test knit in the chat. And also Nicole's suggestion is that maybe getting people to test it at baby blanket size.
That's a good point. And I do have in there, like, I have in there like how there's a little box where it's like, these are standard blanket sizes, car seat blankets, baby blanket, twin. Like I've got the dimensions, and then everybody, and then it like I've got a little almost like worksheet style stuff in there so that nobody has to like, because who's gonna get, like, I don't want you to meet my gauge. I'll tell you my gauge, and that'll give you some information. But honestly, you might want to do this in DK or worsted or whatever. Like I've left that very open and given like help for how to figure out how many stitches to do in yours if you're changing the yarns and stuff. And that's part of too why I haven't necessarily just published this. I was writing that up earlier in my design career, and I hadn't yet figured out exactly my design voice when giving less prescriptive patterns. Like I know how to be like, do this, but I hadn't quite figured out my voice and my approach for a more educative pattern where it's kind of half pattern, half recipe. How do I choose my test knitters? Generally speaking, I've gotten to the point now where I've got a pool of test knitters, and if you're interested, I put you on that list, and then there's just kind of like every now and then there's just an announcement, I'm testing this if you want it, and then you sign up, and I have a hard time saying no, so I tend to take a lot of testers. Sometimes I'll just like, and closing it. I know not everybody's seen it yet, but I have to close it because if I don't, I have to say no to some people. What I do though is I have started testing exclusively through Yarn Pond, and Yarn Pond is just about test knitting. So when I put up an alert, even if I were to like, because of the mystery gnome thing, almost all of my test knits are like, you only even get to know about this alert if you're in my testing pool. But you can also just say it's open to anybody on Yarn Pond, or it's open even to the public, somebody browsing through. But let's say even if I put something up just in like, and all of Yarn Pond people could see it, that's still a very small section of people. It's not like posting it on my Instagram and maybe spoiling things. This one, because it is something like I've developed, obviously, a group of knitters who like doing my gnome tests, and there are other people who love my hats and my shawls or whatever, and they're kind of also in there, but this is really out of my typical thing. And so this might be something that I do put a blast about on Instagram or something like that. If you're interested, Barb, my email is on the bottom of all of my patterns. I'm assuming you've got one of them. If you don't, let me know in chat. And then I will let you know what it is. Or PM me on Ravelry, and we can get you set up. And then you would need to join Yarn Pond, just because it's like then it automatically delivers the files. Everything's just kind of taken care of. It checks a bunch of things off and organizes it in a nice way. which is a long way to say. I choose my testers from people who tell me they want to test.
Jen also said that she's interested in testing, so. there you
Jen
go.
will test anything I do. She's amazing.
So are we on to swatches now?
We're on swatches. We're officially swatching.
Okay, so I've been talking on the audio podcast how I've been itching to start a sweater or a top, and I all of a sudden remember that I've got a whole bunch of Knit Picks Lindy chain, which is a cotton linen blend, and I have it in this lovely kind of dusky purple color, which I just love to bits. Lindy chain is it's a chainette.
Which
So
means
there's
it's kind of
no-
already been, it's like it's been crocheted for you.
Yeah, there is no give to this. And for me, one of the things that I'm looking for when I'm knitting a cotton linen shirt is something where I won't have to wear something underneath, because we have 80-degree swings in our weather here. We go from -40 to +40 some days if you count in the humidity. And I'm not going to wear a shirt that, or I need to layer up on a really hot day. So,
Yeah.
I was talking about doing a Hinterstein pattern, tank top, and then also Tin Can Knits posted about a t-shirt with just really kind of short, like almost cap sleeves. And I guess right now Tin Can Knits, no, it's not Tin Can Knits, it's Tanis Fiber Arts. When Tanis does one of her patterns right now in wool, she immediately is drawn to doing it in one of her linen blends. And so the image that I saw was the linen blend of the shirt, and I just thought, oh, that would be so beautiful. And so I don't know what I'm swatching for right now. It'll be one of those two. And so I've got 2 different sizes of swatch done up. I have not actually blocked them yet, but here's how I tell myself what size this is. I do yarn overs, so this one has 3 yarn overs. So this is a US 3. And I love the bounce of this fabric, the way it's done up. And then I also have one in a US 4. And just now I realized that I had dropped a stitch. So I picked that up.
Well,
oh no, maybe that one was the 4 and this is the 3. Yep, this is the 3 because this one's denser. And so, yeah, I need to measure them and then block them and then measure them again.
and
then
Katie,
I'll
why do
know,
we do both measurements? Just for people that don't know,
because
measure and unblock swatch.
it tells me when I'm knitting without having to block a project in process, how far off gauge I am.
Or if it's like knit to 22 inches and you knew your swatch grew, you shouldn't knit to 22 inches.
Yeah.
Right.
So, oh yeah, Judy's wearing a Lindy chain top right now. Yeah, this is the thing, is it feels like paper when I'm knitting it. Like I've actually like held it out to people like, feel this yarn. They're like, they touch it, they immediately recoil. They're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, but it's cotton and linen. It is going to just get so soft and wonderful. Now, one of the things that I do find is even though there isn't a lot of stretch to it, I do like doing garments that have some good structure to them to help it retain some sense of shape.
Well, because cotton doesn't have memory, and so it will just like kind of get droopy and drape. It not drapey, like it just droops. It just like alpaca. It just kind of grows and shifts. So if you have structure points, it's important.
Well, I think that's also one of the reasons why they did this in a chainette.
Yes.
Right. It's so that then this already has some structure within it so that you're not as held to making something with structure. So yeah, so that's I've got a lot that I need to do this afternoon and it's 2 o'clock. So we'll see how much I'll get done today, but I would like to get blocking this so that this is the thing is I've got all these projects that have been on the go forever. So I don't think I'm allowed to start it yet. But also I'm a magpie, so I might just start it anyway.
I worry about you starting it before you rip back and
get that's
like that rainbow part, like the big shawl. Get it set so it's on the needle again before you start.
I agree. I agree. I am very much, that would be enough, that would be a barrier in the way my brain works.
Yeah.
And I agree, like I need to rip back and I need to get started again. Before I start something new, otherwise it will just become a thing that,
Never. Yeah. Like, because
yeah, and I
every
don't
time you're
want
like,
to.
I'd like to knit that. Yeah, but I can't knit it. First, I have to unknit it.
Yeah, yeah. So, no, I agree on that one. That is absolutely the danger with how my brain likes to work.
Yeah.
What are you swatching? A sweater?
Well, I have long wanted a sweater out of Woolfolk Flet. I bought a couple skeins of it way back in Toronto. Oh, like I think maybe the first time Ryan and I did our January Toronto trip. And I just liked the way it looked for a beard, for a gnome. No, I don't have that gnome here with me at the moment. It often sits on the table with me, because it is a very cool, I don't know how to describe it. It's like rickrack, but fluffy.
Yeah.
And I just could tell that a sweater knit out of it would have this lofty, lightweight, not like a heavy homemade sweater feeling at all. Like it was just going to be really incredible. And so when we were there this winter, I was like, okay, I'm going to knit it. I know which sweater I'm going to knit. And now I've just been holding off casting on all the sweaters while I meet my commitments. And I have been very assiduous and worked forward on a lot of things, and I am pretty much on schedule. And so I decided I was allowed to swatch, and now I need to read the pattern, because the pattern is the Building Block Drop by Amy Scher, and it is written with quite a few possible, like it could be sleeveless, it could be like, there's a couple things where like it could be a V-neck, or I can't remember what all the options are. But I need to read it through, make decisions, and like mark up the pattern, because I honestly need, if I'm going to work on a sweater, it has to be like, it'll be an hour here or there, just to kind of bide my time while I'm doing this other stuff. And I need to like work through the pattern a bit. So I'm hoping to do that today. We'll see. But Woolfolk Flet, this is the color. It is like if brown was in a shadow, but kind of was like used to be lava. So it's kind of got this incredible complexity. It's kind of like a little bit of a burgundy, a little bit of a brown. It is such a hard color to capture.
It looks so fuzzy though.
It is like, so here's, you can see
Yeah.
on my arm here,
Yeah.
what this is like. And it is impossible to count stitches. So tell me where's the V, right? So what I was doing when I was knitting, I cast on, I knit about this much, and then I actually counted stitches on my needle and slid a DPN down and slid the other DPN down. It's supposed to be 17 stitches over 4 inches. And then what I did is I was like, am I even on track? Measured between those two. I was like, no, I need to go down a size. So I ripped it out, knit a bit longer, did this again by like the needle, the stitches on the needle, and then just slid down. Now that it's washed, of course, I don't have that. But I also am not in a car trying to figure this out. And I can like breathe deep and really take a moment, but I am actually thinking of, I'm going to measure it dry and then get it wet and then do it. I'm going to actually sew yarn, white yarn, before I get it wet.
Will sewing the white yarn before you get it wet actually change the potential gauge of the yarn within that
I
square?
don't think so, because I would, even if I were to do it on all 4 sides, I would cut it between. So I would cut the corners. So like it would be like a strand, and then maybe a strand, so that they are all 4 able to move independent of each other. When I block for sweaters or gnomes or really anything other than lace, I don't block 2 measurements. I get it wet, I wring it out, squeeze it, step on the towel kind of thing, and then I just pat it out and see what it wants to be. Because if you're fighting it too much in the swatch form, then it's not going to be the sweater you want. You have to know honestly what's going on with your swatch. And then the great news is if that's how you've blocked your swatch, that's how you can block your sweater. Your sweater doesn't need to be like pinned and like manipulated or anything like that. It can just be like, pat, pat, pat. So that's what I'm doing. It is, yeah, it's going to be so fluffy and lightweight. They've got some really amazing sweaters for guys, sort of like silver gray cardigans and stuff. And I just like, I don't know if you've ever looked at the Woolfolk pattern support that they have, but it's like, oh, it's so good. Yeah. So it's just a fluffy muffet kind of a thing.
Very,
Not easy to see,
No.
but it is, what I'm excited about is I really love drop shouldered stuff. I have 0 drop shouldered things, and it is, that it's got that cool, it's not quite like Hohi Locatelli's boxy. It's not these 60, what is it, 60 inches of positive ease, whatever it is. It does have positive ease here and then thinner arms for that balance. And it is a drop sleeve, but it's kind of in between, and it's got an incredible amount of adaptations. Like if you have a full bust, here are some things to do. You know, like she really wants her patterns to be very inclusive in terms of fit and getting the same look. So that's one reason why there's just so much in there. But I want a drop shouldered thing before they're out of fashion for the next 20 years or whatever it is, because they've been out for a long time. I like the way we're doing them right now in the modern world, and I'm like 5 years behind. So I'm really like this a lot with sweaters. I'm like, I don't want to knit something trendy because it's going to be out of fashion, and then I like it's still in fashion 2 years later because it's not moving that fast. And then I'm like, oh, but I kind of really like it. I still like it. If I still like it now, I should probably knit it. But then I don't have that much time to knit sweaters. So I'm like, yeah, okay. So I'll get to that like sometime. And then it's like, it's a truly 5 years into the trend before I've, number one, accepted that I like the trend, because I really resist like every trend when it first goes. Like, I don't think I like low rise jeans. I don't think I like high rise jeans. And then by the time I like it, I'm like, have I missed it?
All the things before it's out again. Yeah.
Are you swatching anything else?
No, just that, because I don't want to do too much while I got these whips. And also we should end, because I'm officially at the part where I had to start knitting on this, because I need to count my rows, because this is, I think, long enough that it's time. I agree. Start that heel. So I won't start the heel until I count my rows. So yeah.
Well, it's been wonderful, everybody. Thank you for asking questions and joining us. We're going to do this in like 2 weeks now because this one was so delayed. But I'm hoping that we both have sweaters maybe on the go, or you have 2 finished shawls / ponchos, or
in 2 weeks.
Why not? You're so close on that one.
I know. I haven't been knitting as much in the evenings. It's just,
no, neither have I.
My time for knitting has, like, I'll be home, but I don't always pick it up while I'm watching TV. Sometimes I just play the Knittens game on my phone.
I'm reading a really good series, and I was like, oh no. And it's garden season, and it's like, oh no. But I'm also really, really wanting to knit. So it's
yeah. I need to figure out a couple of things to get more time in knitting, but yes.
Yeah. All right. This has been wonderful, Katie. I love you lots. Thanks for joining us. Other folks, we'll see you in a few weeks.
Yeah. And listen to us before that.